Where do you fill the fuel? Well, right here. Never use gasoline and don't use any biofuels. Even though it says you can use the B5, don't do it. When it comes down to your dome light, we usually deliver these with this in the off position, so it doesn't come off and on at all. We usually deliver it with this light in an off position, which is in the center. You go up to the up position where it looks just like a sun on it. That means it's on all the time. If you go to the down position where you see it looks like a door or a window frame or something and then a sun, that means that it only comes on when the doors are open. So here's what will happen when you approach your vehicle and you want to get in, when you want to turn on the power. As you can see, coming into the van, you'll have your control panel on the left hand side. Just look for the green stars. Activate those switches there and there. Now both of your inverters are on and your DC main is on. Whenever you're through for the day, you don't need to turn off all these individual switches. Leave them on. Just turn off your main. And in the winter, when you need heat, just flip on the heater as you need it, and you'll hear a fan come on in the back. Or if you have a problem with a fresh water tank and the pump stays on for some reason because your tank's empty, flip off your fresh water pump so that it doesn't run continuously. But otherwise, just leave them in the on position and turn off your main. There is also a circuit breaker that protects the cable going to the back that charges the batteries, located here. I'm going to get a little closer to it. And it operates just like the one in the back. If you press the red button, that yellow arm will pop out. And it's out now. Make sure that you push it back in. You'll hear it click like that. I usually press the button one more time to pop it back out, which is, in this case, this one's not coming out very far, but it does come out, and then push it right back in. So if you're ever in doubt that your van is charging while you're driving it, check that circuit breaker, and then check the circuit breaker in the back at this location. And you see how that arm came out? Make sure it's in. That is reset, so it'll let power come back here. Trip it on purpose by pressing the red button, push it back in. And then this is the solenoid, which is an electronic switch that connects the front batteries and back batteries. When the van does not have the keys in, this switch is off, so the back batteries and the front batteries aren't connected. But as soon as you start the van or put the keys in the van to start it, this switch is on and allows power to come back to the batteries from the alternator. These two cans, which you have two of them in your truck, are for your storage of any items you need to put in there, but it's primarily designed for putting your propane tanks in, particularly the shorter squat tanks, so that way you don't have the propane tanks flying around or keep them stored in a drawer. It's best for them to be out in the open. When it comes to releasing the sandblaster, here is your foot pedal, and this is where you store it. Otherwise, when you're using it, you just of course that won't be on it, but sit it in the floor and you use it as a foot pedal. This is your release. All you have to do is just lift it up, and then you can slide this forward. And the purpose for purpose for pulling it forward is so that you have clearance from the so your head's not hitting the air conditioner. Whenever you slide it back, it'll automatically latch. This is your control for your compressor. This will turn it on, and push it in, it'll turn it off. And of course you can adjust your pressure here. You also have a pressure adjustment on the sandblaster itself. Then you have your nozzles, and you have two of those. You have one there, then you have one up front. When they deliver, sometimes they'll have them hanging up like this. Generally, I like to keep the hose retracted down through the hole, but I'm gonna leave it like that for the time being. On your sonic cleaner, the switch for this model is on the side of it. We've had several operators think that it wasn't working and did not realize there was another switch here besides these dials. It plugs in to an outlet that is located behind your seat. To access your fresh water tanks, all you need to do is remove that screw and that screw, and this whole panel will lift up. Just grab it by the hole, lift it up a little bit, and take it out. This is your tank that you're going to use to empty your sonic cleaner. You have a valve in the back. Open it, it'll drain into this tank. Once you're through draining it in there, when you get to the next stop, you can pull that tube out. Make sure that when you do that, you close this valve when you get over there, so you don't pour solution into the sonic cleaner and then just dump it down into this basin. But this is a sealed basin, so if it dumps out in there, you can rinse it out. It's not going to go anywhere except for in that contained compartment. When it comes to emptying your dirty water tank, there's your valve right there. And this one is set in the on position. We usually leave them set in the on position until you get it, so that way the tanks stay empty. You'll also notice that this cabinet has a drain in it. That's where your hose is going through. On the underside of the truck, behind the driver's seat, under the truck, you will see a hose hanging that has a female connection. So you can hook up a garden hose to that to drain your tanks wherever you need to drain your tank. Or you can just let it drain the ground, whatever is appropriate for your particular situation. Now, where does the water go whenever you're draining your tanks? When you're draining the tanks, your water goes under the van on the driver's side to a hose connection here. And there is a clip that you can pop this on, and you can just leave it there if you're just going to drain the ground, or you can pull this clip out, hook a hose to it to run it somewhere. Fill the tank. What you're going to do is you're going to grab this hose that's behind here, stretch it out until you get outside the vehicle, and then attach your garden hose to this to fill your tank. The tank does have an overflow line on it, so when you overfill it, it'll start flowing out to the ground. But when you can get to the point where you recognize when it's full, go ahead and shut it off. It's always best to never overfill the tanks, but it won't hurt them. They're designed to be able to handle it. Here's your fire extinguisher. In some areas, you may have to have more fire extinguishers than this. If you do, you may want to mount one of them on this forward end, or go ahead and pair some up here. I usually like to put them in different locations, so that way if you do have something happen with a fire or something, that Murphy's Law might mean that it ends up happening right where you have your fire extinguisher. At least you'll have one of your extinguishers in another location. Trash cans. Alright, we got a trash can hidden here for you. If you open this up, you'll see that there is a trash can in the bottom of this container. I mean, in the bottom of this cabinet. This one's kind of dirty. But then again, trash cans are going to be dirty. But don't forget that you have 2 drawers here. Now, anytime you store anything in any of these drawers, make sure that you fill up the drawer. If you don't fill it up with items, you want to fill it up with the little baskets or whatever, little boxes, so that you can't have something sitting at the back and that's heavy, and then when you make a turn, it slides at the other end and hits it, because you can damage these drawers doing that. So it's best to always have the drawers either empty or completely full. And it doesn't mean that every box has to be full, but if you have it filled up with baskets, at least stuff can't slide around. And when you close it, just make sure that you slide the latch up into that hole. Your compressor is located under this cabinet. Release that latch, release that latch, and there's your compressor. If you ever need to reset your compressor, there is a circuit breaker on the compressor at this point. If you ever have a problem with the compressor not starting up like it should, and just sits there kind of putting and not wanting to start, it may need a capacitor changed in it. This particular model is available at Lowe's, so you should be able to get parts there, or you can get them from us. When you close the compartment for the compressor, make sure you get your latches in the hole. Otherwise, you might get an unusual rattling noise whenever it's running. Also, your compressor does have a drain you will see the drain is located right there. That way you can either empty the air out or let the water drain out of the tanks every so often. I would probably recommend doing that on a monthly basis until you kind of see how much, if you don't get much water in there in a month, you may want to do it every 6 months. Just do it on whatever cycle works for you. You don't want to let the tanks get too full of water, or you'll start getting wet moisture into your glass bead. To turn off and on the vacuum system for the dust collection and for the sand blaster, you press this and it'll turn it off and on. The bead blaster. You can fill up both these containers with your bead, and when you're at the right pressure, whatever you need for it, and remember you can vary that, you can select which tank you're pulling from by the direction of this arrow. When it comes to cleaning this, what some of them will do is just kind of blast air and just let it go up this the collection port. But mainly it's going to accumulate in the bottom, and every so often you're going to want to clean it out and put it back in your, put it back into one of your containers. I'd probably do it in a separate container. I'd probably maybe put the used bead here and fresh bead there, so that way if you were to find you see a difference in the finish, because a used glass bead has sharper edges, and it will give you a little deeper, kind of a more coarse divot down in the end of the metal. So it's usually a best practice from my experience to use just fresh bead. But if you're using both, you just need to do whatever is appropriate for your operation. But if you want to keep them separated, maybe keep all your used bead in this one and fresh bead in that one. So if you have you find a difference, you'll know which one you're using. If you ever decide you want to change this brass, this is actually, it has an adhesive that's holding it in place. It does have a set screw on this side to hold it in place until it sets up, but much likely you'll never get to remove this unless you put a lot of force on it. And we don't want to forget that this power strip does have a circuit breaker on this back side. So if it ever sticks out, you want to take your finger back there and push it back in. As far as anchoring things on the wall, you can anchor quite a few different things on this wall. It is a 1/2 inch thick plywood behind the laminate that you see on this surface. So feel free to anchor things to the wall, but you may want to try Velcro for a lot of your applications, because the Velcro can be cleaned off and it won't leave a permanent hole in the wall. Basically just don't anchor anything unless it just has to have a screw, or if you know that it's never going to be removed. Comfort mats. The mats that you see on the floor, you can usually find at Home Depot and Lowe's. If you want more of them, or double them up to get even more cushion, because they are a comfort mat, you can do that. I know some that might even lay them the full length of the floor. Depends on what you need for your comfort. Now this stool, the best way to transport is just to lay it over on its side on the mat, and it's not going to go anywhere. If you bring in one of your own, you may have to do something that supports it, or you just lay it on its side also. When you're using your buffers, especially the linen buffers, you're going to have some cotton that comes off of it. Now, but if you want to make sure that dust stays more away from you, open up this vent slightly, or full open, and then open up this vent. Most of these trucks are delivered with this in the out position. And don't change the direction of this while the fan's moving, or it will blow this fuse. This is your speed control, and all you have to do is open the vent, and when you open it, it'll come on automatically. Now if it doesn't come on, what you want to do is just check to make sure that you actually have it switched on over here. And again, remember, you don't have to switch that off at the end of the day. If you want to kill everything in the truck, just turn that off and all of these will die. Okay. But when you have this vent blowing out, that one will be bringing fresh air in, and it will keep air moving in toward the front of the truck. And in doing that, that'll keep the dust moving and coming up here and going out this vent, or building up on this vent, rather than just hanging around in the hanging around inside the work area with you. Okay, this is your power supply coming from the alternator. As you'll see, there is a circuit breaker on it. If you press that red button, you'll notice this little arm pops up. If you ever see it in this position, you want to close it. just check it, release it like that, push it back down, press it. I usually do that a couple times just to make sure that it is working properly. This particular box here is for the dedicated, and what that does, it is supplied with power only when this outlet or inlet has a power cord attached to it and it's plugged in somewhere. For my northern operators, you're going to use that for your night heat so that it does not draw on your battery bank. Up here, you'll notice that we have one plug that's unplugged and one of them is plugged into this cord. This is basically the charging cord, and it basically it goes to the shoreline on the outside where it says shoreline. Whichever one's plugged in determines which inverter is actually charging the batteries. You can only have one charger charging the batteries at a time. So really what ends up happening is right now we're hooked up to inverter B as the charging inverter. If I unplug these two, unplug this one and swap and put this one in, then A will become the charging inverter. Basically what it does, it gives you a backup to where right now you're going to be charging out of B. If you ever have a failure of that charging, then you can always plug it in up here, swap it, and now you'll be able to charge from inverter A. On the vacuum unit, you have the way it's hooked up at the moment, that is supplying air and suction to your workstations. As you'll see, here is the hose coming from the sandblaster. Whenever you want to use it, just basically remove that, plug that in, and now the sandblaster has airflow. Cleaning your AC filter. Just basically pop this clip down, take it out, clean it. When you get through, put it back in place, slide it up under that lip, put the clips back up, and now you just cleaned your filter. On a nightly basis, or at least the day before you go to work, you should plug in the van here with an extension cord. We've provided you with one. This plugging in here will power up that inverter, which will give you all your power on the inside except for the 12 volt, the 120 volt. If for any reason you have a failure of your inverters, you can also shoreline and gain power back in the truck so you can finish working for the day. Dedicated is just strictly for that box, and that's for plugging in any device you want in the truck, particularly in the winter, your night heater. But at night during the winter, you're going to plug an extension cord here, plug it into your building, plug a heater into that to keep the van warm, to keep from freezing your water tanks. Now the battery compartment is in this cabinet, and we will have a video specifically for that servicing. But there is a card on the cover, which you remove. There's 4 screws basically holding this lid in place. There, and then down at the bottoms. And this advises you on the frequency of checking the water in the batteries, which you will need to check the water in the batteries. It says every 3 months, but you want to adjust that according to what you see. If you find that you run a little low on a battery or a cell in 3 months, then change it to 2 months, or you may just want to do it on a monthly basis. It's very simple to do, but we will have a separate video expressly for servicing the battery. Here's your heater, or where your heat comes out. If you look behind, you'll see your actual heater unit. This is where the air comes out. And to turn on your heater, flip this switch and you'll hear it come on. Okay, this is the recommended order of the equipment on the counter. It'd be sander, grinder, small buffer, large buffer. On the large buffer, if you're going to have only one of the wheels that you're going to use, do it on this left hand side. And the reason for that is we want to have things as far as at least anything that's cutting heavy metal or your stainless steel in particular, where you'll have heavier filings come off. We want to keep them from going back here. So if you're going to have a wheel that's not being used, use that one. Don't use that one. Another reason for that also is your air conditioner is over your head there, so that's not an easily accessible one anyway. Okay, to empty the vacuum system, undo this latch. You will see there is a bag here. And what you can do with this bag is just empty what you have in it through that hole. Or if you want to be buying extra bags, you can. But these bags are, you are able to empty these. And to empty it, we're going to insert a tube into this to make it a little easier to empty, which will be provided in the truck and actually be in your spare bag. But whenever you're ready to reinstall it, just slide it onto that piece of PVC. Close your lid, and you're ready to go. Oh, and let's not forget that you do have a shrink tube holder located right behind the sandblaster.